Hey, this is Randy from Navigating the Hologram. In this perception shift, we have the visionary artist Daniel, Space.Before.Thought, on. It's a pleasure to have him here and to talk with him. His influences range from spirituality, nature, Neville Goddard. He uses Procreate to create his art. I highly recommend his Instagram page, Space.Before.Thought. The link is in the description. So in this perception shift, we discuss a bit about Neville Goddard, flow, art, creativity, spirituality, using your imagination, disconnecting from your ego, and to keep on persisting, keep on going, keep on flowing. Hope you enjoy this one. Much love. Thanks for being here again, man. Really appreciate it. It's really pick your mind and connect on that level. Uh,
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for inviting me.
yeah, it's always great talking to you. Like those voice notes help a lot, and like your consistency. So when you post things, is it like in the flow of that, or is it kind of like
Yeah, it's uh I kind of go through phases. Like on my travels, I wasn't very as inspired. So stuff was maybe a bit more forced, and I think because of I was moving around quite a lot. It was my attention was not as focused. So it definitely showed in my art. But I try to be quite honest with my Instagram page, and I try to post what I make always, but and you can kind of see if you look back on my page, you can kind of see where I was more in flow and more connected and more focused. So I like to see, like I can scroll through my Instagram and I can show you my bad days and
uh
my good days. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting how that like you say, this how just being in the flow, and the deeper you get into it, the more harmonious and mind blowing these pictures come out. Because I don't know how they come out either. It maybe sounds a bit egotistical, but sometimes I don't know how the picture
yeah,
arrived at where it did. So if I don't know how it happened when I made it, then it's obviously not me. It's not
right.
me making it, is it? It's
Beautiful.
something else. Yeah, it's something else that's coming through, and that's how it feels sometimes. It just once Daniel is moved out the way, the
Right.
picture just something miraculous happens, and then something cool comes out.
Nice. And you're
Yeah,
like the vessel for that, or
yeah,
your body, personality
yeah.
released.
And like the more harmonious my thought patterns are, the more the better the picture. Because sometimes when I first start a piece, as soon as I start the piece, my thoughts just change. They go real in harmony, and it's almost like I'm working through that distortion to find the center or that place of peace. And once I've found that place, once I've made my way through all the noise and found that center, and that's when it all starts flowing out. That's what I find. It's quite interesting.
So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
trial and error and polarizing. Like sometimes you feel like I got to do it this way, and then maybe there's adjustments, or is there
yeah,
something specific?
yeah. Well, sometimes if I meditate, or because I usually like to start my mornings quite, I like to read and meditation and stuff. And usually, sometimes when I'm in that state, I'll get a random like vision or idea. And nine times out of ten, if I do get that vision or idea, I feel it feels done. Like what Neville Goddard says, that as soon as I get that vision, it feels the image is done. So then I naturally don't have to do anything. I just instantly can get into flow, and I know that the image is finished. But there's other times where I will look for an image, and when I find an image that inspires me, I will start working on that and see where it goes. So there's a few different processes that I use,
Beautiful.
but it's always trying to find that place within of that place of fulfillment, or feeling the wish fulfilled. with every piece.
So when you feel it, do you feel it maybe like in your heart center? Like, is there like physical sensations when you feel it?
It's kind of just like a knowing. Just I know that it's done. I don't know how to explain it. And this is before I really understood Neville. I started realizing, like when I first started exploring with art, I started realizing that once I felt that the piece was done, it would just flow out automatically, which was quite weird. And then I started seeing how my art, my canvas, was could translate to life, kind of thing. It's like if everything's like a fractal, if I could feel the piece was done on my art canvas, then I could feel like a piece in life. Does that make sense? I
Kind of,
could
can you
feel like I
go
could
into
feel
that?
like some
You can.
because if everything's like a fractal,
Yeah.
so my art canvas can also translate to what I'm doing in life.
So art canvas, do you mean like each page, like each post in a way too? Is the canvas?
Yeah, yeah. So if I can whatever I can do on the canvas, I must be able to do in life because it's if everything's a fractal, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well.
So it's like almost like a confidence. It's kind of like, well, if I
Yeah,
could do it here, then I can make it in life because life is a
yeah,
canvas.
yeah, true. Because I was seeing that if the things that I was doing on my art canvas, if I could see that the piece was finished, then I could see, for example, something in my life that was finished and move towards that. It's a bit different. There's a bit more risk involved with things in
Sure.
life, but like with your art canvas, you can kind of you're free to explore without limitations. Whereas it seems like there's more limitations in everyday life.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. It's like there's more. You mentioned this before in one of the voice notes. I think you mentioned that what's cool about art is that you could use your imagination and you can go to another level that you can't in real life with the limitations of the five senses and whatever. Like there's another element or many elements you could use with
Yeah,
creativity
yeah,
and art.
that's it. Yeah. Interesting. But it's yeah, I learn a lot uh through this process of making art. And
How about,
sometimes,
oh, go ahead.
sorry,
No, go ahead. So,
I was gonna say sometimes I don't even want to do it, but I find that once I've kind of pushed myself or made that first step to start, I always you feel good. You feel like you've released something after. It feels like a kind of a release.
yeah.
Mhm.
So is that when you're pushing the envelope, do you have like a certain feeling? It's like it's like, oh, I pushed myself to another level, or I pushed myself, push the envelope for me, like for your like art level or style or whatever that is, like pushing the boundaries. Like when you're getting in that space of pushing your boundaries, pushing the envelope, do you know like when that is? Because I find it like if you're trying to push yourself, whether it's like killing the ego or just doing something completely different from what you're doing, there's a lot of tension. It's like, oh, what would other people think, or like the image part. So I guess my question is like, do you have like a test to see it's like, okay, this is pushing the envelope for me in your like perspective creating?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel that I always notice when I get into, well, I don't always notice, but there's always usually a point when I notice that I'm getting into like loops. And it's also the same in your mind as well, right? We get into these thought loops, and sometimes we don't even know that we're in them. We can kind of, we have all these different thought loops going on and these little limitations, and some are more obvious than others. And it's the same with art. Sometimes I'll notice myself once I've found like a new kind of a new style or a new thing that I like doing. Sometimes I keep doing it, and then once you keep doing it, you fall into that loop. So then I'll notice myself that I'm rather than being creative, I've fallen into a loop. If that makes sense. So in order
Mhm.
to break that loop, I try and do something like try and make some mistakes or some I try and make some conscious, intentional mistakes, and usually that opens a new loop, which I kind of follow, and then I find a new idea.
That's meta. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I'm hearing
And
you.
it's the same with life as well, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we're in these loops, the only way to break out of these loops is to do something unconventional and spontaneous that we wouldn't usually do. And
Yeah.
at first it might be scary, but once we've done it, it opens a new part of life, maybe a new avenue, which we wouldn't
Very
have
true.
found if we stayed in that loop.
Yeah, it's very interesting you say that. Yeah, definitely. I hear that, like thought loops or even movement with body or how you draw or post things, like all these are like patterns,
Yeah, yeah,
loops.
yeah. And like I say, sometimes we don't know we're in them. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or it's the safe way. Sometimes we know like we're in them, but it's like the safer way. Like because I know sometimes it's like, oh well, if I do this, it's better than doing something else or doing nothing. So you would just do
yeah,
it because it works for now.
yeah. True, true. Yeah. And sometimes it's nice to be in them for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So with your art, like how long have you been doing? Like what's your background in it?
Yeah, I started the Space.Before.Thought account. I started around 3 years ago. But before that, leading up to that, I was quite into music. I used to make a lot of hip hop beats and stuff like that. So I did that for years, and that's kind of how I got into making art because I used to make myself little covers and things like that. But I've been into like photography and art since I was at school. That's what I enjoyed doing at school. Yeah,
Awesome.
I, that was my main subject, like art and graphic design. So it's always been in my life. It just I kind of drifted away from it and then came back to it.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Mm. But that's how I noticed as well. I was looking for something new to do, and then I was in the bath one day and I was kind of thinking, well, what did I used to like doing when I was younger? And then I realized that all the things that I did at school was art and design. And I was like, oh, I used to love art and design when I was younger. Maybe I should reopen this avenue and see where it takes me. And now here we are.
Magical. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
feel like hip hop and sound and music, is that way different than what you do now, like with art, with your kind of art?
Mm, I think there's no, there's definitely I think there's definitely elements. Yeah, I think there's definitely these spiritual elements in the hip hop I was listening to and stuff. I didn't really realize at the time when I was younger. It was a bit when I was getting a bit older that I started to see these things. But yeah, now looking back and revisiting like the music I used to listen to, you definitely see these spiritual elements in there, and which I didn't see at the time because obviously my awareness wasn't focused on that type of thing. Then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, something about music too, because I do like I found that I do like listening to music as I do a creative process because I feel like a lot of time like it kind of gets like stale or boring unless if I just wake up and there's like an idea. But I need that like stimulation or memory from music to generate something, it feels like.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's definitely yeah. It does sound like sound waves, and they definitely have an impact on your mind. Like even I notice with making my art, I have to listen to a certain type of music to get me in a certain flow. Sorry, but,
Beautiful.
but yeah, there's I don't usually when I'm making art, I'll listen to some quite peaceful type music. It's rare that I listen to like hip hop,
Uh,
but but yeah, like even like listening to like Alpha. alpha waves or theta waves, they do noticeably affect your mind. So there is something going on there.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard about that. Don't really practice it regardless of like binaural beats and stuff. Like I'm sure it does. I don't know why. Like there's been resistance to just using it, to just trying it. I just
Oh,
like
really?
go.
Why?
I just go through music. Like I feel like if I feel like listening to a song, I'll just go to just listen to that music. And then if it's like binaural beats, I feel like it's so hard to get consistent. It's like one that's like gets me. It's like, oh, I know this is working, and this gets me to a certain state. Because I feel like music, it's like, especially specific songs, like that gets me to a certain feeling and state. Binaural beats just feels like more of like a like relaxing, or it could be like a focusing tool.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong. I just feel like if I knew the exact like alpha binaural beats song, like if it's on YouTube or I have it on my computer, I would use it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think what I've noticed like recently, they're a good, like you said, a good reset. They're a good, if you have like one that works, it's a good reset to get you to that level. Because if you're out in society and moving around, you're picking up all them frequencies, and your mind
Sure.
definitely shifts. Your mind definitely shifts. So using these binaural beats just to reset your mind, this kind of gets your mind to that point, and then you can kind of work from there. It's they have been pretty useful for me recently.
Awesome.
But I've got a good app which I've been using that I can send you. I can't remember
Yeah,
the
sure.
name, but it's and I basically just I either use the alpha waves or the theta waves. And,
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be cool.
yeah, it's been useful actually.
Yeah, because it feels like like you could get your focus on through that and whatever tools you can use to generate like what you want, especially the amount of content. Like for your, how long does it take to create an Instagram post for you?
Uh, Usually, I like to get them finished in one day because I find that if I revisit one the next day, I find my thoughts are in a different channel almost. So it kind of starts moving away from the original idea. So I like to get one image done per day, and that image can take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. If it's just a collage, if I'm actually drawing and like painting,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it can take up to 30 hours, but on and off. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
So really, like
but
you're riding the flow on the just like
yeah,
on the day to day.
yeah, yeah. Like sometimes it's nice to start get the if I get the main idea down in the morning, and then I can maybe do a few hours in the morning, then revisit it later at night, and I kind of find the flow later at night, and it kind of just it kind of just all falls together nicely. But
Yes.
I definitely go through phases of inspiration. I have my good days and bad days. It's kind of like
Right.
I'm trying to do something every week, every day, wherever I post it. You know, so
How
yeah,
what was something about let's see, I wrote it down. I had a list, I had a list of questions I wanted to get to because I was like, how am I gonna how often do I gotta talk to Daniel? Right. So
I'm always
um
available.
uh that's cool. What are your biggest passions and inspirations like for your art currently?
Yeah, biggest inspirations. Yeah, I get my inspiration from everywhere. Art, different art pieces, different artists on Instagram, music as well. I get a lot of inspiration from music, but and books. Reading. different books. And yeah, but a lot of the times my images just spring up in my mind. It's a very I normally get like, if I have like one of those little visions, it's normally, it's hard to explain. It's like it's not a clear image. It's like, it's almost like a shell, like an outline of an image, which I can kind of follow. I use it as like it's like a navigation, like GPS point. Once I've got that image, that vision in mind, I can kind of follow the vision and then see where it leads me.
Is more of a visual, or is it like, do you kind of have a feeling towards it, like as this shell of an image pops in?
Yeah, it's slightly visual. Yeah, it's very faint. It's a kind of visual feeling. It's like an outline. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, I know what I'm working towards, and like I said before, when I have that vision, it's always finished. I know that that vision's been given to me to follow, and that's what I'm going to make, and it's always comes out a pretty good piece if I have that vision. But I don't always have it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is what I want to ask you. So, how would you describe your art? Like, if you were to
How would I
describe your own.
how would I describe it? I always describe it as visionary art, but like, it's like new age spiritual. Yeah, I would say it's quite divine. I don't know. That's my own opinion. Maybe it's not. I feel it's a natural. It's got an organic. I try to keep, natural elements in the pieces. So I like the animals and the flowers and the leaves, etc. Water, like
Awesome.
we can see.
Yeah. Is that a recent one?
No, this is quite an old one actually.
Oh, okay. That's
But
cool.
I like it as my background.
I love the turtle and
Yeah.
orbs.
See, these are my little guardians. You see, these are helping me.
Beautiful.
These are protecting me. These are my little angels.
We could we could go into spirituality. Like, how did you get into spirituality? I guess like New Age or your beliefs, like Neville and all that. Like, was there certain events, or were you always into that? Or
Oh no, it was. I first got into spirituality maybe 10 years ago. I used to work at sea on a ship, and
can I
yeah,
ask
at the
your age?
time,
Your age?
yeah, I'm 33 now. 33. Are you?
30 body. It's funny asking this question. Like, my body is there. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there's
Yeah,
no time. No that. Yeah.
true, true. But yeah. So I used to work at sea, and at the time I was drinking a lot and partying and stuff like that. And yeah, I just needed a change in life, and I found it was so weird. I was on the ship, and there was two guys on the ship speaking about meditation. So I like questioned them what they were speaking about, what meditation is, and they said they had like a disc of meditation CD. And I said, "Oh, can I try it? Can I borrow this disc?" And I was asking them what to do, and they said, "Yeah." They gave me the disc, and I put the meditation music on my iPod. And then the first night, before I went to bed, I listened to the meditation music, and from that day, like, I did meditation every day, like from that one day at sea. And then yeah, before I listened to that music, I never used to read. I never used to have any interest in anything. And then from that first day of meditation, I started like, oh, what's meditation? So I started I bought my first book about meditation. And then yeah, I fell down the rabbit hole. And since that day, I've just been constantly digging deeper and deeper, and found like psychedelics, stuff like that, and fell down that avenue. And yeah, but it's only been around. I think it's been maybe 2 years since I found Neville. When I first bought a Neville book, maybe 4 years ago, and I remember opening it and reading it, and because Neville has quite a lot of Bible verses, I thought to myself, I can't read this because it's got too much Bible in it.
Oh yeah,
so
same
so
thing with Christian, yeah,
yeah,
and
so I
verses.
put so I put it to the side and never read it for 3 more years,
Yeah,
which is interesting. Really.
that's that's what happened to me. I think with Law of One and Eckhart Tolle's like Power of Now. It's like there's some resonance towards it, but I never wanted to go into it. It just at that time it didn't feel like
Yeah,
appropriate to get into it. And then now it's like it's all about that, like Neville, Law of One, Eckhart Tolle, like, all of it. And it's that truth. I mean, and I found this interesting too. It's like it'll resonate with you, like to a level it already resonates, but then there's maybe like a consciousness shift, and then it becomes even more in alignment, and it just gives you downloads. If you will.
yeah. It actually made me question myself because one day it came into my head. I thought, why can't I've read all these, like, over the years, I've explored all these different spiritual books like Buddhism, Hinduism, all these like non-dual philosophies. And then I said to myself, well, if I've read all these spiritual books, why don't I want to look in the Bible? Why is the Bible the only book that I don't want to look into? And then it just clicked. It's like, well, if I don't want to look in the Bible, it's not because I don't want to look in the Bible. It's because for some reason there's a program in my mind telling me
Sure.
not to look in the Bible. So why I tried to think back. I was like, well, why do I not want to look in the Bible? And I thought, well, I didn't put that idea there. So where's that idea come from? So as soon as I realized that, I started looking in the Bible, and admittedly, I didn't understand it for years. I just started reading little bits, but now it's pretty clear after reading Neville what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's getting clearer.
I still have a program and resistance towards it. Like I do need like Neville's interpretations for any verse. Like I can't like if there's a Bible book in print, I probably won't be able to like go get into it. Like
Yeah,
there's still some uh maybe resentment towards the tradition or religion in that way, but definitely the main teachings I feel like of Jesus, Nazareth, and everything is like it is inspiring and true. And there's, I mean, the theme of love has to come through from it. I just can't like read it literally unless there's like a verse or Neville create something. Yeah.
yeah. It's because it's just this. What I found as soon as I realized that it wasn't about people and places, and that's when it kind of opened up. When you see that it's all about I see it as a metaphysical guidebook on consciousness. That's how I view it. Not about different people.
I
So
gotta look into it.
when you can kind of read it from that perspective and see how the different Bible verses are speaking about the individual who's reading it, it's kind of opens. There's another,
Something.
there's another level to it. It's when you can get past the idea of people and places.
Yeah. Neville called it like a psychological drama or something, right?
Yeah, it's definitely unfolded in me, like how Neville spoke about it.
That's great
Yeah,
because Neville's I think people consider him like Christian mysticism, something
hmm
like that. But like especially now on YouTube, there's just so many Neville resources and YouTube videos, and it just it works. I mean, like it works, and he's in a state that's very true and almost took a lot of courage. But I mean, if you're just living on truth, it's not really courage anymore. It just becomes how it, because it's back in the 1930s as he's doing or something. So interesting times, like when he was alive and hosting all these like books and lectures.
Yeah, it's so far ahead of his time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like some of the I never used to when I first started hearing him speak about the promise and stuff. It never used to resonate with me, but like it keeps unfolding in how he speaks about it, which is interesting. That's what made me like even more interested in the Bible, just seeing how it's unfolding.
You have some good like great verses that you kind of like. I could see in a way of when I view your art, a lot of reflections from angelic figures or maybe from reference from the Bible, which is nice. Like
Yeah,
a consciousness of that reflection.
yeah. But that's the thing as well. We've kind of taught as well with the Bible about it's kind of presented to us in this brutal way, and
Yeah.
you like you go in some of the churches and they're quite gothic and dark and they're quite intense, and then you hear about like the crucifixion and it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But
So
once you start peeling that back, it's kind of all this is quite beautiful.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, behind like even the crucifixion, I feel like that is symbolic. Like if there is no, if this is a hologram, and then what Jesus went through isn't really what most people think he went through. Like the crucifixion can just be a symbol, a metaphysical symbol, even of
Oh
transcendence,
yeah,
transcending the body, or sacrificing for love. So it's not even sacrificing because it's always coming from a place of love and light and unity. So there's no pain really. It's only because we could identify the body and that you see nails and kind of see, oh, Jesus suffered or something. But from my understanding too, is that lately with Neville and non-duality, all that, it feels like it was all supposed to be, and it's all perfect, and it's all felt for all
yeah,
of us.
yeah. But how I see the crucifixion was that the crucifixion is that when we're thinking and feeling negatively about someone else or some event, we're kind of crucifying the Christ. So he's suffering for us because we're judging or being nasty or attacking people.
Mm.
That's him like pinned to the cross. And then once we understand that it's us doing that to the cross, once we understand that it's us doing that, then we get the resurrection because we understand that it's our thinking and feeling that's creating this suffering.
Yeah, I like that.
Once we transcend that, that's the resurrection because we've entered into the kingdom of heaven. And because then we've stopped judging and hurting people within our own minds.
Yeah, that resonates. That thought, I felt that before, but I loved how you said it like that and bridged it like that.
Yeah,
Any judgment of anyone is judgment of yourself or judgment of Jesus. But in a way, that's also like a nice motivation. It's like not to judge too, because the visual image of the crucifixion is pretty horrible and
yeah,
scary.
yeah. But that's what's if everyone in the world or a good chunk of people in the world are thinking like negatively towards everyone,
Yeah.
imagine the suffering.
Yeah. So it's all self-created.
Yeah. But there's lots of like once you there's lots of fascinating that's how they kind of unfold. If you kind of see them from that perspective, and it's meant in a like a mental in a mental way, they kind of unfold and quite beautiful and quite deep. It seems like they work these some of these Bible verses work deeper than anything I've read. You know, they kind of get into places which other words don't, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like getting
But,
deeper into like the grooves of your consciousness.
mhm. Because you've got to chew on it more. You've got to use a bit more mental effort to kind of figure it out. They're kind of like riddles, right? They're kind of once you've kind of put a bit of work into them, they kind of open up.
Oh, kind of
That's how it.
like koans in like Buddhism. They had like puzzles
Yeah, yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. Next level
And
stuff.
that's I even feel that about Neville's work. I feel like a lot. I feel like there's hidden stuff in Neville's work. It's maybe not hidden. It's not. We're just not aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the same with genius artists of when they're creating, it almost feels like they're leaving like eggs, like Easter eggs, like an egg hunt.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. I do that.
Yeah, awesome. It's because you can only do so much with the content and like what we take in with the senses, but there is also a lot we take in behind the senses, behind the scenes. Uh, just even conversations or reading, looking at art, looking at videos. It's like there's just so much. It's impossible to like contain everything, and that's what I really respect and appreciate like artists and content creators. You're you're putting your unique element, but it's also there's a lot of thought and skill and just graced by spirit as well. And
Yeah.
whenever someone takes in, it's like it's unique to them. It's like so my perspective is going to be different from everyone else's too. It's like, well,
Yeah. That's the interesting thing. That's what I want to. I wish I could see everyone's perspective on what they see,
yeah,
because everyone sees something completely different, and they see from their story of life, so they make connections which I maybe didn't make, which is, I
yeah,
find quite interesting.
yeah, definitely. Same with
So,
music too. Like different takeaways and feelings, but something is felt. That's like, whoa, I never heard that or never seen that art before. And it's like you just kind of like at least how I see it is like my spirit gets like inspired and uplifted. And then there could be like, oh, that reminds me of this and this, or a certain object or a certain memory, a certain year. And then it's like,
yeah,
oh, what we can add it to this or something.
yeah, definitely. But like I said earlier about the hip hop, when I was younger, I didn't notice like the spiritual elements in the music. So even like the same piece of music, you can view differently like, 5 years later,
Mm.
which is interesting.
Could you give me an example? What you mean by spiritual elements for hip hop?
Uh, yeah, just like those certain artists that I would listen to, and there was like some underlying maybe spiritual message about God, or they were speaking about God, or speaking about some of these, high consciousness awareness concepts, which I wasn't aware of when I was younger. So I didn't hear them and completely, kind of overlooked them. But it was only until when I was older that I could start seeing what they're actually speaking about. Because like with poetry and stuff, you can kind of make something sound like you're speaking. You can make it something sound two ways. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like how it is created, like maybe different words or
Yeah.
different tonalities or different like tempo or flow of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So I can make like a picture of a landscape, but for some people it may look like a landscape, but some people it may look like heaven or something. You know? There's them two. You can kind of mix two.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, it's like
yeah,
you could have so many perspectives or so many feelings too.
yeah. And also like it's always something I think about intention. How your intention as well can affect something is quite powerful. How you can, for example, I think I've said this to you before. You can play one note, for example, you can play a C note, and on that C note, you can put intention. So a person who makes death metal or some like quite maybe negative type of music can play that C note in a very negative way, and then you can get someone who's putting lots of love and energy and positivity into the C note. So
Mm.
even though it's the same note, the intention is the intention that's going into the note is changing it in some way. If that makes sense.
So with metal, there could be a lot of, I mean, it can be angry music. Like I listen to like new metal and like Korn and like Rammstein and that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it. And there's could be like darker energy or angry thoughts, but I still feel like maybe it's like what you said, like the intention of it is still feels like it's a loving expression.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The intention behind it can shift, even though you can't really see the intention. You can kind of feel.
Right. And then, so do you feel like there's different art and music that has more negative intentions? It's like maybe it is a creative expression, but still it's almost like kind of hateful or angry.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. There's some. Yeah, you can definitely feel a shift with some things. I think if there's some positive, loving intentions going into something, you usually feel very inspired by it. I think
Yeah, that's a great point.
it makes you move. It makes you want to do something. Like if you listen to a really like heartfelt piece of music, it makes you want to you know it makes you want to make something.
Yeah, yeah, inspiration, definitely inspiring and heartfelt. That's really crazy that how that works though, like how music and art can do that, or movies, like or poetry or books. It's like, whoa, I felt that. I felt whatever that is from this
Yeah,
stranger, and you're like receiving it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
again, well, I guess for spirituality too, it's like because it is ourself too, then it makes sense like to to feel that way. Like if we're all one consciousness, we're just trading or learning, teaching, and it becomes perfect, like divine almost. Well, everything's divine, but yeah, it feels just like the filters are getting removed. Like the older we're getting, it's just we probably felt it when we were kids and teenagers and when we were 20s, but now it's just like the false programming, the fears or the separation is just getting removed.
yeah, yeah. That's it. Constantly showing up and being challenged in some way for you to overcome them.
Sure, yeah. Love or fear, of course, in
Yeah,
miracles, but
yeah, yeah. But love always wins, right? Always.
always doesn't have to fight. It's like
No.
it's it's overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting journey. And yeah, definitely the past few months have been. I was faced with a lot of fears.
Oh yeah, tell me more about what happened.
Yeah, it was just lots of old, like I said, like you just said, just old programming and being shown to me, and just having faith in the process, and faith that you would overcome it. And yeah, it's definitely a very transformational trip.
How long were you there for, like, in Mexico?
Yeah, I was in Costa Rica for like 2.5 months, and then Mexico for around 2.5 months. So it was really good. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must have been fun. Yeah. Yeah.
It
That's
was, but it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. Just me chilling and on a bit of an adventure, but it was more of a spiritual journey than a me backpacking journey,
yeah.
which
So
I wasn't expecting. Mhm.
yeah. So what happened, like spirituality in regards to like meeting other people, like like-minded people, or like your own
No, just my
awakening?
own. Yeah, not. I, it was just an unfolding of old programming. Me just seeing old programs and beliefs, and yeah, that's just what it was. The whole trip, really. But and and one of the reasons I went was uh, to get a better understanding of Neville's teachings. That's why I wanted to go as well,
Wow.
because it's okay for me. I feel like it's okay reading all these books, and like I've been reading Christian mystics for 2 or 3 years now, and everything that they were saying seemed to be true. But it seemed like I was too comfortable. It's like,
There
how can I speak about these things if I haven't really seen that they're true and known it? And I remember someone said, like, yeah, there's only one way to test out if these things are true, and it's you've got to kind of chuck yourself in the deep end.
you
Not in the deep end, but you've got to kind of put yourself out there a little bit and see that they are. You've got to move outside your comfort zone to see if these things are true. You know,
exactly.
can can your imagination really create reality? And is you know is this is your faith strong enough to go through these small challenges and hurdles? And that's kind of why I went. I wanted to see, if the law, if what these people, Christian mystics, were saying is true. And I think it is.
Yeah, and you know it is now. You experienced it.
Yeah, I know it is. uh,
Boom.
but you've got to, it's like I say, it's okay. We can all read a book and memorize it and speak about it, but it's the experience, right, that
Yeah.
sets it in, sets it in our minds. And
Yeah.
it's like a work, it's a working activity then in your consciousness, rather than just it moves from being memory to being like a moving, working,
Yeah.
force almost.
The thing about that too is you coming back. Like, how does it feel coming back
Oh
in
yeah,
society or like in the UK, like living there? It's
yeah.
so
I feel
different, right?
completely, yeah, I feel completely different, like a different person. Yeah, a completely different person.
Yeah. That's the
But
thing.
it's
It's like uh, if I try like there's this difference between I feel like traveling and then like living there for your rest of your life. And it's like that's what I'm kind of looking into of life transitions, where to live, and what creates the best happiness, where can I use my skills, and what can I do, and all that. But I feel like your roots, especially in your childhood, is like it's gonna be a big factor of what you want in your life, midlife, or rest of your life maybe.
mhm.
And I feel like that's interesting. That's like those experiences traveling, backpacking are just huge because there's so much inspiration. It's just like it adds another element to you. But yeah, it's just a big question mark when it comes back. It's like, okay, learn that, experience that. But then if you're back into a whole different culture and society, it's like it's just interesting to me. I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for that. It's just literally the matrix can just come back online, like old programs can come online. So it's
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna stay back here where I am. Just come back to do a few things, and then yeah, I'm probably gonna head out somewhere again.
it's
But yeah, I'm just seeing what happens, see what opportunities show up.
yeah. So yeah, with Space before that, like are you in certain communities like around the world with your art, like and doing that? Because you're pretty well known on Instagram and probably in the psychedelic community, am I correct? It's a pretty like do you, so do you go into the different states or countries? Do you have like your own like I don't know how the art community operates in that. Like
Mhm.
do they kind of like collaborate like different artists and musicians, maybe festivals, like promotions and stuff?
Yeah, I think they do. It's not something I've ever done before. I'd like to do it, maybe in the future. Yeah, it's not something I've done. I met a few people on my travels who followed my account, which was quite interesting.
Yeah,
That was, but yeah, I've never done anything like that.
yeah. I think that's
But there's a lot.
yeah.
Sorry, gone.
I was gonna say like that's it's fun like festivals like if that's in the future with wherever we're heading, that'd be great to see more like artists like you and kind of like that come on board because it's like it's translating your digital art into possibly if you go on that route and I'm just that's like always intriguing to see like how people like, put their art forth like in other mediums and stuff and how other like and how other will interact not just through like Instagram but like walking through it or like experiencing. That's
No,
always
exactly.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's something that I like miss. Like with Instagram, you can post a picture, but you don't see people's reactions, which
Yeah.
it's nice to show people a picture, and then I'm like, oh wow, it's nice to see people's reactions. So, like you say, it would be good to do something like that at some point, so you can see people like going, oh wow, this is cool. Or maybe they don't like it. They don't always like my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a live reaction, like
yeah,
the feedback of that.
yeah. I mean, you can get people liking your picture, but it's not the same as seeing someone's actual
Yeah.
face.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
but,
gonna look and feel different too, because on digital, like on a phone, and then you're actually seeing it like at a gallery or on a festival. It's like Burning Man or something, or music festivals. Like, hey, Daniel made this. Or something.
yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah. I wish that happened more. There's like more supportive for artists and stuff. Just like had that, I don't know, not publicity, but like just resources. You know what I mean? Like somewhere enough. Because I don't know if it's about money, but it's more like just exposure for because this is such a big world and we have so many like people that could bring other people together. And yeah, so it's like it'd be nice to see your art like be showcased in a way that's like interesting. I would love that. I would
Yeah,
love to see your art in like a festival. Like, oh,
yeah.
Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's happening slowly. We'll see what happens over the next few years. See
Yeah,
what the imagination can conjure.
exactly. We're all imagining this, so it's like why don't imagine the best for each other? Like say,
Yeah, man. Yeah. But yeah, I've got a lot of big ideas. But well, I'd like to do more stuff like that, like you're speaking about, like some uh, more moving stuff, rather than there's just a static pictures. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Do you draw or paint like in your own canvas, like physically, or is it mainly all just digital?
No, most of it's digital. Yeah, I've tried. I've done bits in the past, but it's not really. I like to just have my iPad and just go, whenever I want to, which is quite. I can do it wherever I want. I can sit in a cafe and do it, or I can be at home, or I can sit on the floor. It's quite freeing just to have the iPad and just start whenever I want, and
Yeah.
that's. And I feel that I can get like my vision of what I'm trying to create is, I don't know if I could do it on canvas, because I like to get, once I've got the idea, I like to get it out and release it. Whereas some people like to, spend maybe 3 months on one canvas and then make a
Yeah.
beautiful, amazing canvas. I'm kind of like, I just like to get the idea, uh,
You pop it out.
get it together and pop it out and then move on to the next thing. Yeah, that's how I like to. But yeah, I love the. It would be amazing to do a beautiful canvas, but some of the
Yeah.
artists, some of the artists doing these canvases are, breathtaking.
Yeah. Well, it's also you found
Yeah,
your medium. It's like with the iPad and with Procreate, it's like that's you too. It's like your skills
yeah, yeah,
showing.
definitely, definitely opens a lot of doors, and it's yeah. It's. Have you tried Procreate?
No, like my I don't have any foundations. I can't draw. I mean, I'm learning to draw like basic shapes, trying to like the progression of learning. But yeah, I haven't. I I saw some videos on Procreate, and then I might have gotten the app on iPad, but there's like a broken middle part, so I can't really like work with the iPad. So I just use Photo Director and some video apps, photo apps. I've really liked coloring, just colors and textures, the feel of that. But yeah, basic drawing can't really do, or maybe I'm just kidding. Just need
You can
progress.
do anything. You can
Yeah, you
do
can do
anything,
anything.
Randy.
Right?
All
I,
things are possible to those who believe.
yes. So I'm learning like the basics again, and that's what I'm finding like just enjoying shapes and learning and just applying it, trying to get like my left hand in a way. I feel it's interesting like going through this process this whole year because I didn't think it was possible for even like one little progress. But then now it's like you talk to other people and you see how they're doing. And how do you do that? Your hands aren't even there. You put a thumbs up.
Oh, really? I did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
what?
Really?
Oh, hand gesture. Okay. I had something on. Okay. So on Zoom, it says recognize hand gestures, but that's cool. It was like, okay, it's there. I thought you were doing it. You're like telepathically doing it. Hey, so your hands aren't even there.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
what were you saying again?
yeah. It's just basic, like learning again. But I feel like anything, all is possible. So I definitely want to. I'm this transition. I'm just learning more of the basics, like things that I feel are valuable to me to like add to my creativity or art, so that everything flows. Because so I definitely feel like it's an infinite journey of there's always going to be learning and there's going to be elements that are unique to your own path that you're just putting together and
Yeah,
finding like what works for you and stuff.
yeah. It's just everything you're doing right. If I look back 10 years ago when I was playing around on Photoshop, I never thought I would be doing this now. But then 10 years ago when I was learning Photoshop, or 20 years ago when I was learning Photoshop, no, 10 years, sorry, 10 years when I was learning Photoshop, yeah, how would I have known that I was doing this now? But it was part of the process. If I didn't learn Photoshop, then I wouldn't have been maybe making pictures like I am now. So everything that we're doing now is moving us in the right direction. We just got to keep showing up every day, and we just got to believe in ourselves, right? So many people don't believe in themselves, and
Yeah.
it's easy to think, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. But my granddad used to, my granddad used to tell me, there's no such thing as can't. There's no such word as can't. You can do anything you want to do. You just got to show up and do it. No matter how, no matter how big the step is, it's as long as you're making them little baby steps, you're going in the right direction. So
Progress.
yeah, man, that's it.
It's a nice reminder, yeah. Kind of gotta keep everyone, like, especially if you're in the states of like ups and downs of like, oh, I don't know about this, didn't feel as good, or like those comparison mechanisms of it wasn't like this, or I'm not learning fast enough, or I'm not getting it. Whatever that is, it's just all a thought pattern, as you said, that and that there's remarkable progress, or even baby step progress is still in a direction that you want
Yeah,
to go to.
yeah, and just like what Neville speaks about, just using your imagination, just imagining, who you want to be, and going deep into that imaginal act, and then you can kind of pull ideas from that as well, which kind of move you forward. Sometimes you can get an idea in imagination which will move you. You do like a quantum leap. To, you can just be instantly changed by just like an imaginal idea because you're like, I never noticed this song.
That's
So yeah,
interesting.
it's always revisiting that idea. And have you heard of like idealism before?
Not too much.
So there's a book by Brown Ladone, I think he's called. I'll send you their name. And he says about idealism. So like some people imagine an idea, and for example, if I say to you, okay, imagine an orange, you might just imagine like a round sphere, which is orange,
Mhm.
and you are imagining an orange, but you're not going into detail. So like, how can you imagine an orange in detail? So you can see like the orange maybe isn't perfectly round. It's got dimples on. There's maybe a shadow. There's some light. There's all these little elements that we don't think about. So
Uh,
when we're imagining our ideal self or our perfect self, the deeper we go into the finer details, it gives their subconscious more to work with. So if we like, for example, if we want to start a business, the more finer details we go into are the the more detailed the images in mind, the more it's easily it can manifest easier because we've gone quite deep. Whereas if we just think, oh, I want a business, well, it's never going to manifest. If you just,
right.
it's so hard. But if you think, I want a business that doing this and it's got 3 people working, it's earning this amount a year, it's go very deep into what you actually want, then you can kind of you start moving towards it. I think the main thing that I found as well is that most people don't know exactly what they want. They think they know what they want, but they don't know exactly. They don't know the specific thing that they want. So sometimes it feels like we're constantly trying to find our direction. So,
That's that's nice elements you put through. Like, even it could be with anything, like how visual and how you feel. What can you deal with the business? What can you do with your art? Would be talking, because even this is a manifestation to me. It's like I never thought it'd be like doing interviews or podcasts or even talking about art, because I think I had like I was really interested in music and creativity, art, but I didn't feel like I could like create anything. And then it's like you create something, oh, this is pretty interesting. I don't even know how that happened. And then you kind of found what worked, and you, like you said, there's more detail, there's more of a subconscious knowing and feeling, and that is like that's just a door that you could open for so many things, like more detail and more preciseness. And what I'm hearing is like you could use this for relationships or businesses or business, and being specific. Because you're right, it's like I think that's hard. Like people say like, yeah, I want to be a businessman or an artist, but then it can be like there could be limitations. Like the more specific and precise of what the heart wants, that gets manifest. Like that gets like clear in vision in the mind's eye, but also felt with the five senses.
Yeah, that's it. And if you think about someone who's just starting making music, like the first thing they learn is maybe the C chord. Sorry. Yeah, they first learn the C chord, so it's just like this one clunky, you know, eh, they know one thing, but as they progress and get better and better, they can start doing more little things, and they know more notes, and then they maybe know like different velocities, and then they know different progressions, and then they know, and then when you hear the advanced musician, they can put all these elements together, and they're also putting like little like you say more, they're putting feeling into it, and they're putting these little accents which you can hardly hear, but they're there, and they can divide. You start with like one note, and then they can divide stuff up so many times into and make this, very complex piece. So you can see how we start adding more elements as we go. So you start with one note, and then you add these little bits, and you're just slowly building on this one note kind of thing. If that makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah.
Maybe that's maybe a bit confusing, but yeah, you're always adding to your palette kind of thing. Everything you do, every mistake you make, every inspiration you get is adding to your style, your unique style.
There's no mistakes, and
Yeah, no, there's no wrong note. There's
so
no wrong note.
even with the senses, like do you, as an artist, do you see senses as like one sense, or because I know if you look at art, typically it's like people think of the eyes or visual, maybe feeling, but I guess when you're creating, is there like a holistic sense, like holistic feel of like how things come together, or is it kind of like because I don't feel like it's just visual or just audio or just feeling. It's like a whole hybrid or feeling of all of it together.
Mm. Can you explain a bit more? Yeah.
I guess my question is like when you're in the creative process, when you're in your flow, when things just start going, like either drawing on Procreate or creating music, is do you think about like, okay, there's a sound I want to use, or like a object or feeling, or like a certain color that comes up? Like, is it random, or does it come like in waves of like, oh, this is what I want to do. Okay, put some green here, but blue here, and this object, and then kind of bubble up.
Yeah, it's just like once I've hit that flow state, it's just I think I said to you before. Well, I did say we spoke about being dissociated from your senses, and that's how I feel. It just feels like all I am is thought. I'm just listening to. I get like a thought, and then my body does it. For example, when I'm in the flow state, I'm like uh, hummingbirds, and my body puts a hummingbird somewhere, and it's always in the right place. And I'm like uh, water, bubble, some blue here, some light here. Uh, that's just how it is. It's just like this stream of thought, which I'm not consciously thinking of. These thoughts are just popping in my head. It's an intuitive process, and it's like it's just like something or someone, or whether it's me or it's higher me or whatever. It's someone's placing words in my head, and my body's just following these words. It's it's a very mystical experience sometimes. And sometimes I'm just like, when it's finished, I'm like, whoa.
So mind blowing.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like,
sometimes one thing can completely transform the image, and I don't even know how it was done. I'm like, what? How? Like, maybe the image looked like terrible, and then one image will transform the whole image. I've had it where I've had it a few times where the last image is like it was the first image. I think I spoke to you about this before as well. Sometimes the last image I put down, it falls in the right place, and but it almost looks like it's the first image. Like, if that makes sense. I don't. It looks like I've made it. It seems like I've made it backwards, but I don't know.
original.
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
how it happens.
Maybe an example of that next time of like have a first
Yeah,
image and then your last image becomes the first image again.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yes.
but yeah, it's just like a stream of thought that comes into your head, and you just follow it. Because I know when I'm in that state, I know that everything that's coming in my head is the right thing.
So it's like a vessel or channel. It's like if you're in this, your body is kind of like become in that state of flow, and then you're just in like a creative mode. So it's like you're dissociating with the senses, and then God or your higher self or the angels or guardians just like giving you do this, do this, do this. Kind of like
Yeah,
ratatouille. You know,
that's it. And that my body's just like,
yeah,
like a little robot doing
yeah,
it.
like a vessel. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so interesting. 'Cause,
that's why I'm always I like speaking about these things, but sometimes I think people think I'm being like egotistic or big headed maybe, but it's like
oh,
I don't
ever.
even know I don't even know how I'm doing it. If I
Yeah.
can do it, then anyone can do
Anyone
it,
could do
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. All you need to do is learn how to disconnect from your ego, and then
Yeah.
that's it.
Do you see that? Like, what's your definition of ego? Like, how do you see, like, when you say disassociate with ego, do you mean like the body or the five senses or
Just
the body?
the reasoning, I guess, the reasoning, logical mind. So the ego for me is it's not bad. I don't see it as a bad thing. You know, I used to read all these books like annihilate the ego, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad. I think it can be. It has its purpose, I guess. But
Yeah.
the ego for me is like the reasoning, doubting. For example, you can have like an imaginal idea, and you can believe in it, and then your ego will say, "No, it's not possible," or "You can't do it," or and
Sure.
if you believe in the ego over your imagination, that's when we kind of get stuck. Yeah, and it happens. It happens to me all the time, I think. You know?
Yeah.
But it's just learning to recognize when you're you're putting too much attention on that little voice,
Right.
and learning how to disconnect from it, which I
Yes.
feel like sometimes these going back to these alpha and theta waves, which can be quite useful if your mind's overthinking, and you don't know what to do to get out of that cycle. Sometimes alpha waves can just kind of help you get back to that state of mind that you need to be at.
Yeah. So in the flow state, do you feel like it's a very relaxed but also focused state?
Yeah, yeah, very concentrated and almost like you're floating, I guess, in a way. That makes
Floating.
sense.
Yeah. Like very
It's very
little.
like it's very like zoomed in, and everything just like, but it's very floaty. I'm very
Very,
floaty but concentrated. Very automatic, it's a bit
yeah.
here.
And you feel almost like God, or you feel like feel one with like God.
Yeah. Like Joseph says, autotelic, right? That's what it feels
Autotelic.
like. Yeah.
What? Yeah, one with the painting, one with the body, one with God.
Yeah. It's just all happening. It's all happening rather than you like consciously doing. It's just happening. It's just
Right.
just pouring out. Just pouring out of you. And everything just falls in the right place at the right time without any thought or like conscious like movement.
Yeah. Imagining that more and more. Do you feel like you use that imagination, like imagining your body achieving or sustaining that flow state more and more? Kind of like imagine your life, and that includes imagining yourself being in flow most of the time.
Yeah, I guess it could happen. Yeah, it's yeah, I can see how it could happen. Yeah, it's, I think you just have to keep moving.
Yeah,
I think you
flowing.
just have to keep.
Keep on flowing.
Yeah, but yeah, I have. I flow. I like moving and out of it, but I think that you just have to keep doing something unexpected, which kind of gets you into it.
Yeah, I like we bring that up. Yeah, like getting out of the thought loops, like by doing something unexpected, by making mistakes so that you get out of it. That's
Mhm.
yeah, very interesting to hear that because it's
Because
true.
because if you can never play a wrong note, are you really making a mistake?
Right.
And what is a mistake? Like we're taught like mistakes are bad things, but like what I've learned through my art process is that making mistakes is a good thing because it pushes us in a new direction, which we probably wouldn't have done if we kept doing everything right.
Right. It's like more you feel less robotic and more expansive with like
Yeah,
accessibility and skills.
and I think that's what art is about as well, right? Just being comfortable with making mistakes and being comfortable with like not everyone's going to be happy all the time with what you're
Sure,
doing. Or
sure. It's very true. Because it is rigid. I mean, if you're coming from, especially if you're starting off, like I know I felt like super rigid about a lot of things. It's just like that doesn't feel like it's the way I want it to be, or comparing it with others, or comparing it with my other stuff, and then you just feel like that was kind of like a plateau. It's like it has to be made because even if you don't do it, then that whole thing is lost anyways. Like that whole gain of experience of even just trying something creative is lost.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes I've spent hours making something, and I'm like, God, this is terrible. Why have I made this? And then 3 days later, I'll be making a piece, and I'm like, oh, this terrible piece that I made 3 days ago fits in here.
Yeah,
So sometimes you just don't know how these things are going to work out. A mistake that you made a year ago could be the biggest blessing of your life.
yeah, all fits together somehow.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, man, we should definitely do this again, like real soon. And this was super helpful. And really, thanks for letting me record and really talk about these processes. It's really rare for me, so it's really
yeah,
nice
man.
to get into this deep.
No, I enjoyed the conversation. It's flowed together nicely, I think.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
really appreciate this. It kind of gets me inspired in the process and this journey. And so
yeah, man. I'm happy to speak with you. It's been a good conversation.
yeah,
Enjoyed.
awesome.
All right, man. Peace out.
All right, well, namaste. Thank you. Love, man. It was cool.
Yeah, but keep in touch, man.
Of course. Yeah,
Enjoy.
yeah.
Take it easy. Peace out.